Hello and welcome to the Legal Concierge podcast, hosted by Warner Lewis. Warner addresses a wide range of legal questions, situations, and solutions that may apply to you. The information provided in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for legal, financial, or accounting advice of any kind. Warner Lewis is an experienced, trusted resource whose mission is to help you find the answers you need when you're not sure who to turn to. Warner can refer you to a competent lawyer in your area of concern if appropriate. Chat with Warner live every Tuesday on YouTube or Facebook. And now, Warner Lewis, the Legal Concierge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, the Legal Concierge podcast. Great to have you back with us. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that probably most of us are not too excited about pondering, and that is what happens if we are being sued or if we need to sue someone. Now, this is usually not a very happy circumstance in one's life, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the ins and outs of what happens and what you might do, what your options might look like if you needed to sue someone or if you were being sued yourself. But first, just a little bit of background about me and my company, a couple of companies actually. So I'm Warner Lewis. I'm an Arizona certified legal document preparer. I've been certified by the Arizona Supreme Court to produce any legal document under the sun that I'm competent to prepare. A couple of differences between my practice and an attorney's practice of law. One is I don't give legal advice. I'd never say you should do this, you should not do that. That would be a legal opinion, and I'm not entitled to one because I'm not a lawyer. But I can give legal information, excuse me, with impunity. There's no bit of legal information or fact that I'm unable or unauthorized to share. So when I'm meeting with clients, I never express a legal opinion because I don't have one, but I can help them understand, if you do this, this is the result. If you take this approach, then this is what you can expect. Other people want to wind up over here, so here's the approach they take. So the secret sauce with Life Planning Inc. as a legal document preparer is that I give my clients enough legal information to make fully informed decisions at every decision point along the line. Now, the other leg of the stool is the legal concierge. The legal concierge is the host of this podcast, and we are essentially a boutique lawyer matching service for people who need a lawyer but don't know where to go to find the right lawyer at the right price. So we'll talk a little bit more about this service towards the end of the program, but that'll give you a little bit of background about who I am. Started the business 27 years ago, have helped many, many thousands of clients all over the country. And so we're uniquely well equipped to provide legal document preparation services for estate planning, wills and trusts, business planning, LLCs and corporations, and asset protection planning using more complex structures. We also do some real estate and some corporate transactions between parties who are close to each other, like family members. But that's pretty much the extent of our wheelhouse. But there are so many other different areas of the law that, unfortunately, we sometimes find ourselves in need of some assistance in order to have our needs met. So we're going to talk for just a moment about the different areas of law. There are many, many different areas of law that may impact you. So maybe keep your ears open and your eyes open for an area of law that you may be experiencing a need in, or someone that you know who might be experiencing a need in one of these particular areas of the law. So here's a high-level overview of the different areas of law. First, there's Admiralty Law. Admiralty Law covers business transactions, whether they're on the seas, maritime or Admiralty Law, or on the ground, so to speak, any kind of law that might have some connection to the maritime or the seas. It's not the same as the law of the sea, but this does help. This law covers disputes in areas involving marine trade, navigation, or land-based activities that are maritime in nature. Then, of course, there's bankruptcy law, which unfortunately many people find their way to at some point in their lives.
Warner, you muted yourself.
Okay.
Okay, you're back.
Okay. So somehow I muted myself, but I'm back. So we can hear me. Yes, that's good. Thank you. So there's bankruptcy law, business or corporate law, which deals with transactions, business transactions, setting up business entities like corporations and LLCs. Civil rights law, that's when an individual may have some matter with government where their rights might be infringed or something like that. Civil rights law is the path to seeking redress and resolution of gripes of complaints with the government. There's criminal law, of course, which is a very broad spectrum of legal needs. But criminal law, has a very specific set of tools and of skills that are required to successfully navigate the criminal law, which of course we don't do. But legal concierge, if you have a criminal law matter or someone that you know and care about has a criminal law matter, we can match you with the right lawyer, the one who's most skilled at that particular matter, at a fixed fee, ideally. That's what we shoot for. There's entertainment law that deals with if you're an artist or you have a creative property, intellectual property of some kind. Entertainment law is important for recording artists and all of that to protect their rights. Environmental law is the area of law that deals with the multitude of statutes and treaties, both nationally and internationally, that deal with the environment. So in our trust, we'll typically put an environmental issues clause within the trust just in case there's some environmental circumstance that comes up, like a Superfund flume that finds its way under one's property, or if someone tries to bequeath us a contaminated property, like say a gas station that's been leaking fuel into the ground for 50 years. What happens if a cagey old uncle tries to pawn it off on us by way of gift through a trust, for example? So there are issues that can come up. Family law, of course, the area of divorce, separation, child custody. This is one that unfortunately half of couples, married couples, find their way to divorce. And so not all divorce lawyers are created equal. If you do have a divorce circumstance or a prenup or a prenuptial agreement that needs to be looked at, this is an area of law in which we can make a very solid referral to some of the best family law and divorce attorneys in the country, actually. So family law is one area. Health law is a field that focuses on legislation related to healthcare. Immigration law, obviously, people who are foreign nationals who are looking to come to the United States on any number of different kinds of visas. So there are investors' visas, there are traditional immigration visas, there are refugee circumstances. So immigration law is another interesting and sort of ubiquitous law where people need assistance with immigration needs. Intellectual property. So if you're an inventor, or if you're innovating in your area of business, intellectual property law can help you to protect your intellectual property rights so that no one can easily infringe upon your unique invention. So that's one area of the law. If you're an inventor, you might want to look out for that, because if you don't plan correctly and if you don't structure your intellectual property correctly, there could be issues with that. International law. So in Arizona, we have a lot of visitors and residents from abroad. So maybe Canada, Mexico, Europe, and elsewhere, who face inter-border or cross-border taxation issues, and this is a very interesting area of law. Many Canadians come to Arizona, especially, purchase rental properties or vacation homes or both, and need the assistance of someone who's skilled at cross-border law, specifically Canada and the United States, to make sure that they're not running afoul of any particular laws in place or incurring unintended consequences with respect to taxation of assets that they might move to the United States or acquire in the United States and then repatriate. I mean, there are a lot of issues that we don't focus on, but we know the right lawyers to introduce people who have international law kinds of circumstances. Labor law. So labor law is another very important one. If you're an employee and have an issue with your employer, or you're an employer and you have an issue with employees, employment law or labor law is that area of the law. Military law involves the codes and procedures that govern legal matters within the armed forces. So if anyone that you know or care about is in the armed services and has a legal need, then it would typically go through the military law channels that the military has set up. And it's a different set of codes, actually, a different body of laws that are different from the laws that non-military civilians are subject to. Personal injury law, if one happened to be in a car accident and needed assistance representing themselves if they were injured by another driver, to get all of the awards, if you will, and all the benefits that they would be entitled to, one would seek a personal injury lawyer. Real estate law is another big area of the law. Obviously, if you purchase a home, the contracts that you sign are legal contracts. The deed that transfers the property over into a trust or into your name, that's a legal contract as well. It's a legal matter. So we're well advised to, depending on the circumstances, to consult with a real estate lawyer when we're engaging in purchasing, selling, renting real estate. So we set up the LLCs that can contain the rental properties, for example, or the management company that manages the rental properties. But in areas of legal advice, for example, with respect to real estate, we can't provide that service, but we can provide the introduction to the right lawyer. And then finally is tax law. When we file a tax return, they're subject to all kinds of rules. In fact, the Internal Revenue Code, sorry for reminding you, it's almost tax season, but the Internal Revenue Code is 78,000 pages. It may actually have grown over 80,000 since I last checked. But many, many different laws and statutes and regulations that deal with the taxation of individuals, of corporations, capital gains tax. So there's been some question this last year in 2021 about whether or not the legislature, the House and the Senate, would be successful in passing a sweeping law change, tax law change, that would have done away with the step up in cost basis. Now, fortunately, that did not happen in 2021. So we bought ourselves some time. Hopefully they won't go there in 2022, but we'll see. But tax law is obviously an area of great import that touches on every one of us. And if you have a tax issue, you certainly don't want to represent yourself. You'd want to have someone who really knows the code and knows what protections you could seek for your benefit. So this is the service that we'd like to provide. I'd like to put the slide up, if we may, for our contact information. If you would like to schedule some time, a free consultation. The first consultation is always free, always at no charge. So feel free to make a phone call. It's either a local phone call here in Arizona, a toll-free call, or you can go directly to my calendar at calendly.com and schedule 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, even an hour and a half. There's never any charge for that initial consultation, okay? Or you can send your inquiries to Warner at, there's a typo there. It should be legal-concierge.net. So maybe, Toby, when we go off screen, you could pop that hyphen in there between legal and concierge. That would be greatly appreciated. So the legal concierge business of this boutique matchmaking service between you, an individual, you as a business owner, or someone that you know and care about who's either personally involved in some legal matter, or a business owner who's involved in a legal matter. We can help not just make the introduction, but also marshal and ride shotgun, if you will, on the legal matter from start to finish, to make sure that everything's moving along at a correct pace. If there's a lack of information, we can help the client or the attorney provide that information that's required by the other party, and then to make sure that by the end of the engagement that everyone is satisfied, the client, you are satisfied, and that the matter's been resolved to the best of the law's ability to provide justice. So there's another area of the law which is fairly common, and that's the small claims court complaint, which typically we represent ourselves in small claims court. We don't typically take a lawyer into small claims. but it's a way that anyone really who has a relatively minor dispute in terms of dollar amount can get in front of a judge, call the other person to present, and let the judge decide in small claims court who's right, who's wrong, who gets satisfaction and who has to pay satisfaction. So these are some of the areas that what happens if you get sued, or if you need to sue someone, you need legal assistance. But you can't just wake up and say, I need a lawyer, and one of your friends says, oh, I know a lawyer. Well, there's 1.5 million lawyers in the United States, but a very small percentage of them are competent in your particular area of the law. There are hundreds of areas of law, hundreds of different kinds of matters, and not every lawyer is competent at every area of the law. So we can help find that ideally suited attorney to match your circumstances and the right practitioner, the right legal practitioner who can help resolve it quickly and cost effectively. So if you have any questions, feel free to give a call. This one today is going to be quite brief. Again, I really appreciate your interest. We're going to post this up on YouTube, and we're going to break down the different areas of law that might present a concern for you. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to reach out, call either the 480-451-7727 number. That's our local office here in Scottsdale, Arizona, or the toll-free number. Or you can go to calendly.com/Warner-1 to get right to my calendar, and you can schedule a convenient time for yourself. And when you go into Calendly, you can choose any increment of time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And you can choose whether you want it the meeting by Zoom, by telephone, or in person at our offices in Scottsdale. So it's cool technology, makes it easy for you to compare our calendar to yours and find the perfect slot in your day to have a conversation. I invite that conversation, of course, the initial conversation, always free of charge, and you're always in the driver's seat. So whether you choose to engage us or not, that's completely up to you. Whether you choose to receive all of the information that we'll give freely and take it somewhere else, that's okay too. Of course, we'd love to earn your business, but keep us in mind for your estate planning. That's the life planning side of it, estate planning and business planning, that legal document preparation, which we've been doing for so long, almost 30 years, is when I first became exposed to estate planning because of my own family circumstance. And my own family circumstances went so badly that I started this business 27 years ago. So it was really bad. And a lot of accidental or unintended consequences can arise from poorly drafted documents. And unfortunately, I can report that there's a lot of subprime work out there. I just say it, there's a lot of bad work out there. Not everyone who prepares a will or prepares a trust knows what they're doing. And so having the ideal outcome is not always guaranteed. How do you find the right practitioner, though? How can you find that 3% or less of legal practitioners, of lawyers who are competent in the area of tax law, estate planning, asset protection, business planning? Call us, and if we can't help you, we'll find the right attorney to do so. Okay? So please take just a brief moment, like, share, and subscribe this podcast. I very much appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will talk with you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Legal Concierge podcast, hosted by Warner Lewis. Kindly hit the subscribe button below and leave a comment or question regarding your particular legal situation. Feel free to submit ideas for future shows as well. We appreciate your sharing this podcast with family and friends so they can find answers and solutions to their legal situation as well. Check the notes below for links to valuable resources. See you again next week.